Alrighty then, everyone, it's Dokkan time, and today we will be doing the how to build for the newly Super Easy Aid Kaioken Goku, or as the game likes to call him, just Super Saiyan Blue Goku. So, I'm actually really excited for this guy. I think he could be a fun unit to be utilizing. I do have some issues with him, as a lot of people have issues with Kaioken units. Kaioken units have always pretty much had like one big weakness, and it's usually that they hurt themselves or they're defensively not as inclined as the majority of the game is, and that does still hold true with this Kaioken Goku. I do find it interesting though that his role as a unit has pretty much changed. This used to be a very good busting damage unit, and now he's not as, I mean, he can still do good damage, but that's not his primary role. But we'll get to that once we get to the role tips. So you know how this goes with the how to build videos. I give you a suggestion on how to build the unit. I go over the breakdown of the unit. I give defense details, and I give my my hidden potential suggestions, and then my role tips. So with that all being said, let's just go ahead and move on. So as far as 200% options go, I will say the website is very severely inaccurate right now. I've been meaning to go ahead and message Asuna and let him know that these are very inaccurate, because each one of these is technically a 200%, but unfortunately with, like, let's say the Super Saiyan Vegeta here that transforms into Gogeta, this Goku is not under the 220 here. Unfortunately, he could have been, you know, but he's not a gifted warrior or a fusion type. But he does pop up in the 200% option right there. So although you'll see that on the screen of the website, it's not 100% accurate that he's like 220 or something like that, you know? But that's what the role tips are there for, is to help you decide on what units, what team you can go on, where he'll actually be under 200% or 220, 250s. I would say probably your biggest bet as far as a leader goes would just be maybe Vegito, the Super Saiyan Goku Vegeta exchange unit, and then potentially Tech UI. I don't think Tech UI is necessarily a bad choice. And then, of course, we have the brand new Tech Kaioken Goku, which is obviously one of his best homes, if not his most frightening home for HP reasons. He is not on the 200% of the Kid Goku, although I wish he was. I wish he was. And you could throw him onto STR Cell's team purely as a floating support unit. But once again, we'll get into that later. There is plenty of options where you can put this guy onto a team. I just have very specific placements that I feel like he'll be the most comfortable on. Remember, the role tips are just a suggestion as to where you can technically place the unit in a more slightly meta-worthy area. It's not always going to be like the best. It's just going to be a basic suggestion. Anyways, so as far as his leader skill goes, you know how it goes with Super Easy A's. Super Easy A's do not change much, but he's an AGL type, key plus 3 HP attack and defense of 120%, and his super attack is still greatly stacking attack while sacrificing 5% HP. So the interesting thing here is that he stacks attack greatly, of course. This can add up pretty nicely. It really does. The problem I have with him is in his kit right here. So very basic, actually. It's definitely one of the most shortest passives we've had for a couple of these units, but this Super Easy A's tend to be pretty straightforward, thankfully. Key plus 2 attack and defense of 259%. He has a 50% chance to crit. And as the third attacker in a turn, he gets damage reduction rate of 40%. And then he launches an additional super attack. So third slot immediately is one of the most nicest spots for him to be in. When attacking, attack 159%, attack and chance of performing a critical hit plus 20% when HP is 77% or less, and attack and chance of performing a crit plus 30% when HP is 59% or less. And when receiving an attack, defense plus 159%, and defense and damage reduction rate 20% when HP is 77% or less, and defense and damage reduction rate of 30% when HP is 59% or less. And then starting from the 7th turn from the start of battle, attack 159% and performs a critical hit. When there is a superclass enemy, all allies attack and defense 40%, and when there's an extreme class enemy, all allies attack and defense of 40% for 2 turns. So quite a bit to digest there as far as the passive goes. First biggest thing I would like to let everybody know is that he has built-in crit now. He has built-in crit right here. He gets more crit down here. The man basically has 50 to 100% chance to crit. There's no reason for this guy to have crit, which is unfortunate to a degree because I can promise you that if you've had this unit sitting in your box since release, he probably has crit built in already. Now, myself thankfully kept on a lot of extra dupes of him, so I was able to change his hidden potential. But it's very unfortunate, and I still wish that they would let us change up the hidden potential on new super easy A's or easy A's of units, because a lot of the time their kits completely change. So, but anyways, so when he's attacking, he does get quite a load of damage. The biggest thing here is that he's HP centric, just like the Tech Kaioken Goku. So if you get to 77% or less HP, you basically get an extra 20% attack and 20% crit chance, which means that he'll actually be having a 70% chance to crit at 77% or less HP. And then once you get below 59% or less, you're actually sitting at a nice hefty 100% chance because you already got the 20 from falling below 77 and you already had a 50% chance. So literally at 59% or less HP, this Goku auto crits. So there's no reason to give him critical in his hidden potential. And I would say this is the biggest part of his passive that has the most controversy. And a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, oh my god, he's so amazing because, you know, he's got 40% damage reduction in slot 3. And if you're below 77% or less HP, then you actually have 60% damage reduction. And then if you fall below 59% HP, you actually will have quite a bit. You'll have 90% damage reduction. Now, 90% damage reduction is quite a bit. It is a huge number. Not to mention the fact that if you ran Super Saiyan 3/4 Goku when he's transformed to Super Saiyan 4, that means he could have 100% damage reduction under 59% HP if he's on the same rotation with that Super Saiyan 4 Goku and is in slot 3. So there's a lot of restrictions with this unit to be able to hit that potential possibility during a fight, but it is something to keep in mind of. Now, the other thing I'm not liking is that starting from the 7th turn from the start of the battle, he just gets an auto crit and an extra 159% attack, and it's only one time. So my issue with this is that because he's kind of a floating unit, you hit 7th turn, you're floating him off, you kill the boss before you even get to attack with him, and it's just wasted because here's the thing, this procs on the 7th turn from the start of battle, which means it doesn't matter if he got to attack or not. He doesn't hold on to this. It's just wasted if he doesn't get to attack. So I struggle to find the purpose in this right here, other than maybe like if you know it procced, maybe you'll keep him in slot 2 or something instead of giving him that 40% damage reduction and additional super. Maybe you're just hoping to get that extra damage in there and it'll be, I don't know, clutch. But this is the part of his passive that I really don't like. The interesting thing here I see, though, is that if you're fighting an extreme class enemy, he has a whole extra bit of utility here with all allies attack and defense of 40% for 2 turns. That 2-turn buff is actually really nice, and it could definitely make a difference in certain teams and fights. So I like this part. I just wish it was like both super and extreme class. I noticed they've been doing this with a couple easy A's and super easy A's where they split up the super and extreme type of enemies facing abilities. I'm not a fan of it, but I do understand it. I do understand why they do it. It's just, I don't like it. But it's still nice. It's good to know. It's good to have. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on from there. He does have your general Kaioken links, which would be Kamehameha over in the Flash. But the nice thing here is that he is prepare for battle over in a flash and shocking speed. So he's basically got a key link with every kind of major Saiyan link, basically. Majority of Saiyan units all have prepared for battle over in a flash or shocking speed. It's one of the 3. He just kind of fits in with all of them. But the big damage dealers, I feel like, is like, if you really want him doing some damage, you really kind of want to get this Warrior Gods one up. It doesn't seem like it does a big thing, but it's the attack plus 10% and then an additional 5% on top of it. Just the way it maths out, this actually is pretty huge. So the difference between this guy having all of his links going off and not going off is actually a pretty good chunk. He's on quite a few categories as he is a Goku that's Super Saiyan Blue. He's obviously going to be linking up with other Kaioken Gokus, of course. And World Tree Goku. I remember when this World Tree Goku came out, we were all like super ecstatic. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait until this guy Super Easy is. And I feel like a lot of people probably forgot about him. But anyways, aside from that, he doesn't have too many meta-worthy partners. And the reason I say that is because he's mainly a floater. And he's not meant to have a partner, you know? He's meant to be floated. So I think on primary rotations, you would actually see this more likely, you know, Super Saiyan 7th Anniversary Gods. I think this would be very likely to be rocking, at least on the same team, and you'll just have really good traction with that unit. You'll see a lot better performance for both of them. Same thing with Gohan. Gohan has a lot of links going off with him. The only unfortunate thing is that you don't get Warrior Gods going off, but that's perfectly fine. Gohan's just a good link partner. And then, of course, you have another floater. I classified this Gohan as straight up a floating support unit. I don't really think about keeping them on the rotation, but on the off chance that they are on the same rotation, it's still pretty nice. But I cannot ever suggest you run Taibo Kaioken Goku. This is a terrifying rotation, although technically satisfying to run. You're taking a lot of damage, bro. You're taking a lot of damage. Let's say you have Super Easy A Kaioken in slot 3, and you got this dude in slot 2. If the enemy doesn't die before one of these two, before Tech Kaioken, you know, Tech Kaioken probably just did a triple, so you just lost 15% HP. And then this Kaioken Goku does a double, so that then you just lost 25% HP. You just lost a quarter of your health. This rotation here is guaranteed to make you lose a quarter of your health bar every single time they come onto rotation. And that is a terrifying premise when they don't do that absurd amount of damage. So it's very interesting that they have decided to make these units come out. I think a lot of people are thrown off by the HP being bombarded, but like this, it's very interesting. But anyways, I've been going on and on about this unit, random nonsense. Let's just get into his defense numbers, compliments of Halvard over here. So you'll notice here that his defense is not amazing at all. I'm sorry to say. The defensive maximum is only 920. That's 920 Quake. Not even hitting 1 million. Bro doesn't even hit 1 million defense. So the problem with this is that it's all hindering on the idea that you're below 59% HP. If you're not below 59% HP, you will not even get up to this 900, 800, 700k defense range. In fact, if you're not below 59% HP, this bro needs to just straight up dodge. He really does, because 684k defense. What year is it that we think that 700k defense is okay? Like, seriously, what year is it that we can honestly decide to say, yeah, 700k defense at start of turn is okay post super? That's my issue with this, is like, they really should have gave him some defense on super, and I don't understand why they didn't. It's super finicky, it's super weird. I don't know why they did it. Ari, why are you behind me? Okay. Let me just... Okay. But yeah, so I don't like his defense restriction. I find it makes him really lackluster. And it makes it really terrifying to use him, because in certain areas of fights, it could be really terrifying to use him because he ends up being a dodge or die unit. So, I did want to clarify that this is under 220 leader. This is a 220 leader. I had to double check this with Halvard, because if he didn't, man, if this was only 200, I would have been like, okay, sweet, cool. 220, he'll have a little bit extra. Nope. This is under the highest leader skill you can go to. It's really low defense. Now, I mind you, like I said before, he has potentially, 90% damage reduction. The problem with that is that even if he's got 90% damage reduction, with such low defense numbers, he can still die from a 6 million super. And you know, people are going to say, Joe, there's no boss that does 6 million super. I mean, no, there's bosses that do 6 million supers. There's bosses that ignore your defense and just critical hit you and will ignore the fact that you have damage reduction and all this crap. So you got to be really careful. You got to be really careful, because short of like maybe a 4 million super, he could maybe tank that, but his defense is so low that the damage reduction is almost irrelevant. And it's in such a finicky time frame. Like, it's hard to really time up the Kaioken, like, defense of damage reduction that you can get on your HP and live. It's really difficult. It's hard to say how useful this guy will be, but overall, because of that, he really does need to just be a floater. Which brings me, honestly, to his builds. So, let's just start off with this 55% build. So 55%, I'm not even going to suggest you go into additional or crit or anything. Being only 55%, I would just 100% suggest you just give him dodge. And I'm saying you just give him dodge because he really needs to, he's kind of dodge or die in a lot of instances. You're already taking so much damage from his super attacks. It's not worth it to go for additionals. You can go for additionals if you so choose, but man, if your primary time frame of you slot 3ing him, he's only going to appear in the fight, what, 2 or 3 times in a normal fight? It's not worth going for additionals. It's just not. Especially for being in slot 3, he gets a free additional super. I don't think it's worth it going for additionals. I think you need to keep in mind that this guy can flat out get you killed very easily. And you just need to go full dodge. You really do. So for the one dupe build, you know, base level 9, you have 3 nodes that you can go up to 9. So that's 3, 6, 9. And then you put the last node into additional. So he's an AGL type, so he already has a level 5. Plus the extra node, so you're a level 8 additional with him. Level 9 dodge. With the equipment up of plus 7 from a silver and a bronze, you can get his dodge from level 9 up to level 16. Now, with 2 dupes, once you get 2 dupes for him, I would really, honestly, just suggest full dodge. I really would. I really would just suggest full dodge with him, because he will get you one tapped. It really highly depends on where your HP is at. It's so RNG heavy. It's really rolling the dice. He already has built-in additional in slot 3. You're hardly seeing him half the time. He's getting floated and supporting the allies as it is. His primary focus on this team is to support and be like a last-second damage dealer. Like, he's dishing out a nice chunk of damage at the end of the rotation in hopes of finishing the enemy. And that's pretty much it. But he's not meant to stay on rotation. So I just cannot suggest not giving him dodge. By all means, you can ignore the suggestion. Just go ahead and go full additional. By all means, that's entirely up to you. That's your prerogative. Just don't give him crit. Just don't give him crit. But this is my suggestion. This is probably close to what the build I'll be going towards. I'm probably going to be a little bit lower than that because I can't replace all of his hidden potential nodes. But this is my personal suggestion. Just give him straight up an extra 12 dodge from the hidden potential orbs of gold, silver, and bronze, and just pump that into his minimum. So, and as far as his role tips go, I flag him as a supporter purely because of the off-rotational support, the on-rotation support. That's pretty much what I flag him as. Does he do damage? Yeah, he can do very good damage. But keeping him on rotation means that he's not getting his 40% damage reduction in slot 3, which means that the only damage reduction you'll have, let's say you're below 59% HP, you just have 50% damage reduction if he's not in slot 3. 50% damage reduction ain't doing nothing for your frickin' 800, 900k defense. Like, it ain't doing nothing, man. You can't even survive a 2 million super. You're dead. You're dead. You're just straight up dead. It's really bad. It is really bad. He needs to be in slot 3 just in general to survive. As far as his leader options go, obviously the new Tech Kaioken Goku. the Goku Vegeta exchange into Vegito 10th anniversary unit, tech UI. And in all honesty, I wouldn't say the tech gods are a bad idea, though they are only a 200% option, and I'm really trying to push away from only 200s, really trying to push 220s. But at least he is 200% on the tech gods leader, and I do feel like tech gods are so good that you could arguably still use them as a leader right now. Partner wise, I really would still say Kaioken Goku is still his best link partner, of course. Tech gods are very good, and Super Saiyan 3/4 Goku, as soon as you transform that fool, 70% support along with 10% extra damage reduction. He's one of those units where it's like, he's just always there to help out the team. I love the Super Saiyan 3/4 Goku. He helps out a lot. Plus, when the Super Saiyan 4 Goku actually does a super attack, he's actually giving 44% for off-rotational support. So that means on the same rotation, one Super Saiyan 4 actually supers, he gets 44% from his super, he gets 70% from his passive, and then he's giving 10% damage reduction. Absolutely insane as a partner, regardless of links. And then I threw the the tech tree Goku, or whatever the heroes unit Goku here. I wanted to mainly throw him in here because when this unit came out, we were all desperately hoping for this Super Easy A Goku to release in like January or something, because he was such a hype unit. Although I would say he's not amazing, he is also the best link partner for this guy. So I kind of look forward to running the combination. I think it'll just be a fun rotation, you know? Not necessarily like meta-worthy, but definitely a fun rotation. As far as best slot position goes, as I said before, he's primarily just needs to go into slot 3 so they can get his damage reduction, his free additional super, and then off-rotational support, of course. So, if you're fighting an extreme enemy. And I just feel like that's where he is. That's just where he is. You'll probably notice there's some clear differences here in as far as the roll tips go. Like if you went and looked at my tech Kaioken Goku video, you'll probably notice that I have a lot less for him, and that's because he has restrictions on his damage. This Super Easy A Kaioken Goku, he can actually out-damage the new Goku. This guy right here can actually out-damage the new tech Kaioken Goku. It's pretty crazy. It's just because he stacks. It's just because he stacks that damage up. He's got that support. And he's not heavily restricted in terms of categories in his passive. He has no restrictions like the tech Kaioken Goku does. The tech Kaioken Goku needs to have basically reps of Universe 7 surrounding him. He needs a reps of Universe 7 or tournament participants just to get his intro off. He needs to get all allies attacking in the same turn, reps of Universe 7, just to get 70% attack increase and then an extra 30% crit chance. I mean, say what you want about this guy, like Kaioken Goku broke my cord. Anyways, enough rambling about Kaioken Goku and his issues. My point is, I like this guy. He's a nice little solid supporting floating damage dealer. I have no problem with that. I do feel like he could be the reason you die though, so it is something to be aware of with him. He can do good damage, but you do got to protect him. You do got to protect him if you want to stack up his damage. But otherwise, I'm kind of happy with it. I just wish he had more defense, or at least gave him guard. You know, if he gave him guard, this would be an amazing unit. But unfortunately, he doesn't have guard. He just has raw damage reduction if your HP is super low. He really is a definition of Kaioken. He really is. Anyways, guys, let me know what team you're going to go ahead and put this guy on. What hidden potential build are you going to decide to go with? Are you going to go ahead and do the dodge builds that I'm suggesting? Are you just going to say screw it and go for full additional to pump up the damage that you can? Or are you not even going to bother because you already had him fully, completely hidden potentialed up before his Super Easy A? And Akatsuki still refuses to let us have free reversing dupes. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Have a good day and a good night.